as someone who was raised in Canada, right, not the United States, it's more easier timeline and say, actually, according to Professor West, black men, black activists, well over 95% of slaves in Africa were sold into slavery by African slave traders, including largely black African slave traders. Of course, it's wrong.
In order to put his assertions into proper context, it takes a little time. I expect that he knows this. It's almost impossible to slow it down and go over what he's saying in the moment. So we're going to go over what he's saying and give it its proper context. He starts out by saying, according to Professor West, a black man, a black activist. You know why he says that? Well over 95% of black Africans were sold into slavery by African slave traders. Okay, remember the name of the game is to take race out of slavery. He and others want people to believe the condition that blacks as a whole find ourselves in today has no bearing on the history that blacks face in this country.
Slavery had nothing to do with black people in America. It didn't.
They want us to believe that black Africans participated in our own enslavement. The reason this is important, it minimizes the brutality of slavery in this country. It attempts to take the ownership off the system of white supremacy that allowed for it. What he's doing is known as equivocation. Here's how it works. Crowder is describing slavery. His argument is Africans or blacks sold blacks, and white people also sold blacks. The logical conclusion that can be drawn is whites or Europeans didn't do anything more than what the Africans or blacks also did in terms of slavery. Now, equivocation fallacy is when a person uses the same word or phrase, but they have different meanings or usages. He's equivocating the two distinctly different types of slavery. Race-based chattel slavery practiced by the Europeans, which became the US, and African slavery. While blacks were enslaved by both, they represent different historical contexts, motivations, and systems. The Africans who sold their slaves to Europeans largely sold captured members of warring tribes. You can Google this. The Africans or blacks who were sold in the US were sold because they were black and said to be inferior based on the racial hierarchy established in the US. Not only were they sold, the practice was supported by a legal framework that treated enslaved individuals as property, passing down their enslaved status to their descendants. This is a major difference. Captured warring tribes versus legally dehumanizing and brutalizing an entire race, which its impact is still felt today. Whenever you hear blacks sold blacks, remind the person who's spewing such ignorance the difference.